right and the regional right to self-determination, assembly, and all that, which the Federal Republic of Nigeria willingly assented to and agreed to be bound at all times. So you look at all these pictures, including the picture of like this one here, the guys who were killed on 17th December by soldiers because they marched to about a few dozens of them marched to Niger Bridge and were jubilating over the decision of the Federal High Court in Abuja ordering for the unconditional release of Mr. Nnamdi Kanu. So as they were jubilating, the soldiers at the Niger Bridge opened fire and killed a lot of them. Took their corpses away. 3 of the corpses they took away. After 4 days, on 21st December, they went on the mortuary, General Hospital mortuary, and dumped them there. When they took them to the General Hospital mortuary, and some of us who experience in activism and all that know, there is no way a soldier can be allowed to deposit a corpse of somebody who died unnaturally, without the backing of the police. So they went to CPS in Onitsha, and they got the approval of some policemen to go there and dump them. So as a result of extra effort, we were able to discover their corpses, to their members of their families, and then some Biafra agitators and campaigners and their families were alerted, and their corpses were recovered through the other way around, and they were taken home safely and buried at the Norwegian mortuary. Two corpses. So that is the situation. So that is all about them. Now every other thing, then the report also, like I said, is legally granted. You look at the legal citation, if you go to that aspect of the government, Buhari's administration's contempt for constitutionalism and human rights principles, you will see the legal backing of this thing. I mean, all the regional and the international rights treaties the Federal Republic of Nigeria entered into, and but at the same time violated them to death. So you have it. And again, this report is also about talking about those people that are killed outside the law. That is about the main report. It's readable. When you go through it, you will see the whole thing about it. Then if you go through the research, a kind of hybrid is not solely of intersociety. It is a kind of compilation of similar or previous reports on the state of human rights in Nigeria. For instance, Amnesty International was copiously quoted, Human Rights Watch, the media in Nigeria, the state of media in Nigeria, the freedom of expression and democratic free speeches and all that. We are also brought under scrutiny, critical scrutiny. And at the end of the day, if you go through the report, you will see various reports of Committee for the Protection of Journalists. So at the end of the day, you establish that the media practice in Nigeria has not fared well under the Buhari administration. A lot of people are arrested, intimidated, incarcerated, jailed, and all that. So these are contained in the executive summary. So we are not going to read it verbatim, we are rushing it because we have the papers and the online version is also available. So the report also touch on the issue of custodial killings in Nigeria by state agents. For instance, the army and the police. Killings carried out by police, for instance, custodial killings, particularly the SARS, found empirically and unassailably that the government of Muhammadu Buhari In 2016 alone, oversaw the death of 240 civilians, including 29 children aged between newborn and 5 years. And these people died in the custody of Nigerian Army at the Giwa Barrack in Maiduguri, Borno State. So it is there in the Amnesty International report. You will also look at the report, the killing of Shiite, that is Islamic movement of Nigeria members, up to 1,120 of them killed without any justification. And by the way, why we say that this report is granted is that if you go through the report, you begin to appreciate the quantum of lies being told by the federal government of Nigeria in unlawful assemblies. You cannot kill them. Even in a state of war, you don't kill anyhow. The Geneva Conventions of 1949 or laws of war. For instance, you don't kill civilians. You don't throw bombs in IDP camps. You don't take civilians with the nursing mothers and the pregnant women into custody and kill them. Totality of this is tantamount to war crimes. And there is difference between war crimes and crimes against humanity. So the federal government of Nigeria under Buhari administration must be made to understand this. So the report is saying in this executive summary saying that there are 3 genocides in Nigeria. Strictly speaking, the Southern Kaduna Christian genocide, the Shiite procession genocide, the pro-Biafra campaign genocide. If you look at the definition of genocide, it's very simple. The one that is controversial is war of aggression. But in times of genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, they have universal application in times of definition. When you go and carry out killing of scores or mass killing of people who are unarmed and who are defenseless, simple because they belong to a religion, one religion, is genocide. A group of people who are asserting their right to self-determination, their right to freedom of association, expression and all that, who are unarmed and non-violent. It is a serious crime internationally. So outside these 3 genocides, we also have crimes against humanity, and of course 2 war crimes. 2 war crimes have been committed under the administration of Muhammadu Buhari, without missing a word. And what are those war crimes? The IDP camp bombing of 17th of January 2017, where Nigeria government initially denied it, but somewhere along the line somebody exposed them, one of their own exposed them, and told the whole world how 236 civilians, including women and children, were killed. And the second one being the Giwa Barrack custodial killing. It is wrong locally, nationally, regionally, and internationally to take somebody non-violently into custody only for you to kill the person. That is what we mean by custodial killing. Nigerian government has the responsibility, whether the army or what have you, to protect the civilian. In war situation, there are things we call non-military necessity. You don't attack. Non-military necessity. One of them is holy places of worship. You don't do that. Second one is civilian settlement. You don't do that. Third one is humanitarian, those in humanitarian service, stroke IDP camp or refugee camp. You don't do that. Research. And you talk about the casualties. Those who killed in war-related, that is combatants, killed in war-related circumstances are excluded. Killed in that circumstance is a serious crime, especially when there are mass of people. So that is this thing. So we look at police custodial killings like SARS and all that, they're all here. Other instances like the one that happened recently, and so on and so forth. So when you go through it, you will see. Then we now come to the main one and the final one, which is recommendations. Because at the end of the day, the question will always be, after all these things, what do you think government can do? And somebody asked me a while ago whether we bother to get the reaction of the army or DSS and what have you. Any measure that we can take to secure the self-release of this report, we take it. So we are not under compulsion to get the military or CSSS or what have you. Besides, what we did is a hybrid report, building on what has been said before. As somebody defines a learner, he said, who is a learner? He said, a learner is somebody who goes into new things he doesn't know. After going through what he doesn't know, that thing which he doesn't know, he add it up to what he already know. And after adding it up to what he already know, he has what is called a viewpoint. He modified it to have a viewpoint. And it doesn't stop there. After having a viewpoint, you begin to look for people like Anna Yokoi, Aloysius Usata, AIT, and what have you, to be able to push their reformed idea. Even though lawyers went and colonized it, more time they see learnedness. But this is strictly what learning is all about. So, you look at these recommendations, very important, we will read this one verbatim. Now, one of the recommendations, number one, International Society for Civil Liberties and Rule of Law is calling on the central civilian government of retired Major General Muhammadu Buhari, federal government of Nigeria, to end the senseless and wicked massacre by both security forces and armed opposition groups like Nomad Fulani and Boko Haram jihadists of unarmed and the defenseless citizens individually and massively, as well as other forms of regime atrocities that have pervaded the Buhari administration in the past 20 months. There should also be total policy reversal, including unconditional release of all political detainees and end to policy of militarism and militarization. The second recommendation, the Buhari administration, so federal government of Nigeria, should set aside $5 billion for adequate compensation of over 1,750 victims of state murders and estimated 4,000 victims of police army custodial killings, as well as not less than 2,800 unarmed Christians killed by normal Fulani jihadists between June 2015 and January 2017. We say this because till today, and legally speaking, the federal government of Nigeria, headed by Muhammadu Buhari, has not recognized or declared the activity, the normal Fulani jihadist group in Nigeria. Till date, nothing like that has happened. Till date, 99.9% of the criminal activities of this terror group have remained condoned. And again, Major General Muhammad Buhari, as he is today, is the grand patron of the Miyati Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria. And if you go to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, while Buhari was taking his oath of office and oath of allegiance, he swore not to allow his personal interest to overcome the interest of the generality of the Nigerian public. the administration have obviously aided and abetted the activities of these jihadists. Reminiscent of what happened in Sudan, the people we call Janjaweed, the Janjaweed militias in Sudan, in Darfur. The Janjaweed militias in Darfur, Sudan, the indictment of the Sudanese president in 2005 or thereabout by International Criminal Court did not result from the fact that he was found funding or carrying out the killing of Darfurians, but he was indicted on account of aiding and abetting of the activities of the Janjaweed. And Janjaweed are brothers to Fulani, people you also refer to as Fulani herdsmen in Nigeria. So the federal government has aided and abetted grossly and recklessly the insurgency activities of these jihadists. If you look at the application of the law, the application of the law and the protection and all that, securitization policies and things like that, you find out that if Pastor Suleiman says something, he will be invited by DSS, Inspector General of Police, this one. But if a chairman of a Miyati Allah Cattle Breeders Association says something, no matter how inciting, nobody will talk to him. If you look at what is happening in southern Kaduna, military checkpoints all over the place, police checkpoints all over the place, yet the killing continue unabated. In fact, the killing has gone viral. If you look at that report, you will see where we have no doubt, no reason to doubt the Catholic Archdiocese of Kafacha. And until today, the Catholic Secretariat of Nigeria has not disputed the record of statistics given by the Catholic Archdiocese of Kafacha, which empirically, noted or stated that 850 Christians were killed in the dying days of 2016 in southern Kaduna alone. Apart from that, even the federal government through NEMA, SEMA, and Kaduna State Emergency, Keneko, even admitted, you can go and Google the federal government report on southern Kaduna. They even admitted that 376 people died in southern Kaduna crisis between May and December 2016, even though they call it as a result of communal clashes. Nothing has been done by federal government to that effect. So then again, the $5 billion state crime victims compensation scheme, which will be subject to 50% upward review every 5 years if unpaid. Payment of $1 billion to members and families and group victims such as IPOB of over 270 slain members of IPOB. $1 billion to be paid to 370 primarily shot and injured pro-Biafra campaigners, $1.5 billion to 1,120 slain members of Shiite Muslims and their IMM in Nigeria, as well as payment of $500 million for 400 of their members permanently shot and wounded. Still part of that $500 million, that $5 billion, out of it, $500 million should be set aside by Buhari administration through its Ministry of Police Affairs for the compensation of 4,000 victims of, who may most likely have been slain in the past 20 months by way of custodial killings arising from torture and willful custodial shootings. This should be done on the basis of proper identification of dead victims by their immediate families and lawyers. The remaining $1 billion should be paid by the Buhari administration. But then when he was now we win. Now fight intersociety so that at the end of the day, all the dialogue gender mainstream. I don't know.
everything I did, storage. So I must commend you to media part in that that then I will encourage you to continue to hold until such a time you get to a logical conclusion. Things like multi-high nature and very high again now place the one but at least always something again. It is wrong since young. The government has not said anything. Often at government because some people responsible. They are okay. As little as an apology. Then you put it out that I will make the such a in the Molawa. When you want to say Casio, right?
No, don't worry. It's not going to. Don't worry. I need to check it for record. What any big jam? I should open it.
Who are conversant with the trend the world over as regards civil society organizations, international human rights organizations, and so on. We know about the famous Amnesty International report, other human rights annual reports, both in the famed Civil Liberties Organization in Lagos, the UAT, and the rest of them. But today, we have an indigenous, our own civil society organization who has not only revolutionized advocacy, research work, and all other things, all other international human rights bodies are known for, but has indigenized it in Onitsha. So today, for the record, the first, I can say, if I'm not mistaken, the first time a Southeast-based indigenous civil society organization, the International Society for Civil Liberties and Rule of Law. Well, let me not dwell much because there is no point giving you a tip of the iceberg when we are already here. But all I know is that by the time you leave here today, you will not only be enriched, but your eyes, unquote, will be opened to some certain things of Mbeko Mabalas. And I hope as well everybody is comfortable wherever you are seated. We will quickly acknowledge the presence of few dignitaries. Everybody, of course, all of us are very, very important. We are VIPs. Formal introduction. And you can see those at the table here. I will still introduce them, but let me just say before I introduce them formally as well, we need 2 or 3 people who will also join them. Nalobiora Festival in Ugosi and the rest of them. He said, well, Mr. Chidoka, that I'm first of all an Ugosi man. That I'm first of all an Ugosi man before I can call myself an Anambra person and a Nigerian. So the identity that we are Igbos cannot be underrated or underestimated. So few red card chiefs there, we want you people to be behind us there. Opalese immediately is Chief Humphrey Umokeke. Please follow Opalese. He recognizes you. He's also a colossus because he's a man of many parts. But for this, let us recognize all other titles and nomenclature. Stay by the side for the press from different media organizations here, both AIT, Core TV, Galaxy TV, name them. We also have different correspondents of journalists. We also recognize famous blogger, Mr. Chidopara of Chidopara Reports, and other eminent personalities with us. Personalities, like I said, resource persons who have been vision helpers to intersociety and other civil society organizations. We also have Elomba, Daniel Elomba of elomba.com with us. Please, if I mention your name, you can wave your hand for recognition. The Civil Liberties Organization, Anambra State Branch, from the Vincent Ezekweme, we recognize you. And the chairman of Human Rights Club, Anambra State, from Sam Joko, we recognize you as well. So it's written here. The board members and the resource persons in intersociety, the board chairman, Comrade Mbekuma Balasi, to make sure we are here for Oga. And I at the initial stage was confused whether to remain as a journalist or to come over here. And as you know, he's one of us. Before he was sent to Umaya of the Vanguard newspaper. Okay, and Alaba Grace Amarachi. Am I right? Okay, well done. So, do we have a reverend here? We will say the opening prayer.
Onye nwe Chineke nna nke bi n'eluigwe anyị ekene ya ekene. Onye ọ dị ga-ezi mgbe ime ka anyị nwee ndụ na arụ isi ike wee ruo n'oge awa nke a. Ọgbakọba nke pụrụ iche n'elu ụwa nke a ndị Inter-Society Organization kpọrọ. Onye nwe anyị buko ndị a bụ ndị na-agba mbọ ka afụ na eziokwu pụtara ihe, ka afụ na ibe na-aga nke ọma n'obodo anyị bụ Nigeria, karịsịa n'akụkụ South East anyị. Anyị na-ayọ Chineke bụkọ ka amara gụbara ha ụba nzukọ nke a ga-eme ka ebe ya na-arụ ike na ọdịmma na udo na ọṅụ na-enweghị nsogbu ọbụla.
Aluta. Aluta. Once again to welcome all of us to this great occasion. The essence of this gathering is for us to consolidate our contribution towards the nation building or making our society a better place. So today we have a package for all of us, and for that package, all of us and those outside there, for the purpose of reforming our society and making our society a better place. So quickly, what we have today is a special report arising from several months of research, thorough research, grounded in law, facts and statistics. So that is the report we have today, and the title is Welcome to Leading Republic of Nigeria, a land flowing with blood and tears. Page report, segmented into text and pictures, summarized with executive summary, accompanied by supporting affidavit of facts deposed before a High Court of Justice in Nigeria. So the report is grounded. And what is the report all about? It is all about assessing the 20 months, that is the assessment of the state of human rights in Nigeria under the administration of retired Major General Muhammadu Buhari. And the assessment, has a 20 months period. That is to say, it covered between June 2015 and January 2017. 20 months of the past 20 months of the Buhari's administration in Nigeria. How has it been? Talking about the human rights, do we have isolated human rights cases, violations, or widespread? And at the end of the day, the research was able to establish empirically, or within the confines of empiricism, that gross human rights abuse abound in Nigeria, particularly in the past 20 months of the Buhari administration. Comparatively speaking, what this research found is also, or was also, the case when retired Major General Muhammadu Buhari, as he then was, would swear as the military head of state of Nigeria, covering the same 20 months. That is to say, January 1984 to August 1985. That is 20 months. So it is the issue of 20 months of atrocities or regional atrocities in a military's inglorious approach, and the 20 months of regional atrocities in a violent civilian presidency. If you look at the report, the executive summary is here. Since all of us have a copy of it, executive summary of the report. Come to Bleeding Republic of Nigeria, a land flowing with blood and tears, executive summary. In the modern standard of report or research, or social science research, it usually has introduction. It has research methodology. It has executive summary proper. And it has recommendations. So all these things are contained here. But if you go to the report proper, the hard copy of the report, you will see the table of contents in the report. I've shown you the accompanying affidavit of facts. We see the table of contents of the report, starting from introduction to about intersociety, executive summary, research methodology, to emergence of Muhammadu Buhari as 6th civilian president of Nigeria, how he emerged, the birth and the education of President Muhammadu Buhari. Buhari as a serial coupist, and his 1983 coup and his violent military presidency. His civilian presidency, a replica of his brute military regime. His government's content, that is civilian government's content for constitutionalism and the human rights principles. Regime atrocities and gross rights abuses. Then you have photo album abuses. Then you have return of jihadism and persecution of Christians in Nigeria, followed by role of SSS in Buhari's government gross rights abuses, general summary, and the recommendation. So if you look at the photo segment, you will see the examples of the victims, Buhari administration, for those who were terminally wounded. So picture of those who, the culprits. Picture of army members, the soldiers, army personnel in Nigeria, innocent, defenseless, and unarmed citizens of the country. The Nigerian army went gaga and they recklessly murdered the burial site, and they buried them criminally or outside the law. You also have the remains of 13 slain pro-Biafra campaigners who were, if you look at the nature criminologically and lawyerly speaking too, and journalistically too, you look at it that some of these slain guys have their hands tied behind their back. Some were not tied. It simply means criminologically that those people that have their hands tied behind their back were taken alive to the slaughter bureau pit. They were taken to slaughter bureau pit alive and they killed there. Of course, you know, even within the context of common knowledge, that you cannot kill a person and confirm this person dead and have his hands tied behind his back. It's not possible. The moment somebody goes, everything sticks. So it shows that those people, most likely, they were the ones who helped the military under gunpoint to take the corpses of those people killed away, and on getting to the bureau pit, after dumping them there, in order to close traces or effect a kind of what we call evident destruction, those people were also killed. So that is the criminological analysis of the picture. Then you also look at album D. You see the pictures of innocent and defenseless people, young Nigerians who were killed simple because they were asserting their constitutional administration to the families and the churches of over 2,800 dead Christians who are victims of normal Fulani jihadism in Nigeria since June 2015. Administration by callous liability, by way of aiding and abetting. As the national grand patron of the Miniati Allah Cattle Breeders Association, President Muhammad Buhari appeared to have allowed personal sentiment to regard his official position. The killings of Christians have been carried out and concluded that the perpetrators are still on the prowl. Number 3, the Buhari administration, so federal government of Nigeria, must arrest and prosecute all the perpetrators of the above-mentioned heinous crimes perpetrated between June 2015 and January 2017. Those to be arrested and prosecuted include the current Chief of Army Staff, the former Inspector General of Police, who held sway between August 2015 and May 2016 of Police, the Chief of Air Staff, the Chief of Defense Staff, the GOC 82 Division of Nigerian Army, August 2015 to May 2016, commanders of 302 Artillery Regiment on Onitsha, 144 Battalion of Nigerian Army, Aba, Commander of the 6th Division of Nigerian Army, Port Harcourt, as well as Major A.I. Ibrahim of Nigerian Military Police, who militarily led the May 30th and 29th, 2016 Biafra Heroes Day Massacre in Mpo, Asaba, and Onitsha. Others are Commissioners of Police of Anambra State between 2015 and May 2016, that is August 2015 to May 2016. The Abe Area Commander during the February 9 massacre, the Deputy Commissioner of Police for Operations in Anambra State, now CP, Babatunde Kokomo, as well as the present governors of Anambra State, Abia, and the Kaduna State, for aiding the security agencies and criminal entities in the mass killing of unarmed and innocent pro-Biafran campaigners, so Christians and the Christians through Shiite faithful, respectively, in their state. The principal officers of the Mirati Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria should be arrested and charged for manslaughter. I think this is in our criminal law. Yes. As well as immediate proscription of the registered organization and presidential declaration of same as a terrorist organization, as have been done internationally. Where the Buhari administration of federal government of Nigeria fails in 90 days to bring to justice the above-mentioned public office holders and their sub-commanders, as well as named non-state actor perpetrators, then the international community and other international non-state actors like ICC, US Security Council, ECT, should act without further delay in accordance with international law's principles of complementarity and the no impunity. This can be done through the establishment of UN Special Court, blah, blah, blah. Number 4, the UK and the other members of European Union, USA, Russia, Canada, Japan, China, Brazil, and India should raise a serious concern about gross and widespread right abuses in Nigeria, particularly the mass killing of unarmed and defenseless civilians by the government of Buhari and its security forces, as well as aiding and abetting of killing of Christians and perpetration of other forms of regional atrocities in Nigeria. Friends should also consider placing traveling ban on those named serving public office holders, including the immediate past Inspector General of Police, as well as other serving political appointees who are complicit. Placing embargo on supply of small arms and light weapons to be seriously considered by the leaders of the named country. Likewise, tying the release of $672 million recently pledged at Oslo Summit for humanitarian assistance in the insurgency-infested Northeast to mandatory arrest and prosecution of all those mentioned. So the government of Nigeria must also be tied to the payment of $5 billion compensation by government of Nigeria, the immediate families and the associates of state and its surrogate crime victims under reference. Finally, and number 5, and finally, the government of Muhammadu Buhari, so federal government of Nigeria, should reorganize and restructure Nigeria's security establishment and their headship and revert to constitutional growth, political equity and fairness. There shall be mass sack of the present heads and strategic commanding officers of Nigerian armed forces, including the army, SSS, and the police, so as to get to rid them of their present gross lopsidedness and northern Muslim grips and dominations, which have brought about the present grossly lopsided citizens, policing representation and protection along divisive ethno-religious lines. Thank you very much. And lastly, before I drop the microphone, we have the link in the soft copy of this executive summary, attached the link to the main summary and the ESCO summary. The links are there in the soft copy, not this one. So when we release the soft copy, you can, easily download the main report and his executive summary. Thank you very much.
What I wrote, not correct, write your own. So, those of us who are writers, I always say this thing as well, that the greatest, I don't know whether to call it injustice or something unbecoming about doing research work or reading or writing, is that when somebody wants to present something, this research work may have taken months to come up like this, but in a twinkle of some minutes, somebody will just read it, and it will look as if to say that maybe the time spent in reading it out can be commensurate with the time spent in putting it up. Struggle and midnight insomnia, if I should use that word, that was spent in doing this research work. So we can clap again, because it's not easy. I think that we are not competing with the West anyway, and work towards it. I'm so happy. So, also go back to the is open now for comments, observation, thing, which is relevant. But if you want to say something, don't digress. You have to restrict it to what is going on here. You may say anything, then it doesn't you know what I mean.
I'm Comrade Sam E. Njoko, the chairman of Human Rights Organization, Nigeria Anambra State Chapter. Well, this work, Welcome to Bleeding Republic of Nigeria, is an extraordinary research and report, and beyond expectation to the public, but I'm sure the source, I don't doubt what he can do, because the Lord has been using him and his versatile, his reports. I'm here to commend your effort, and I say, may God continue to increase your knowledge and power, your elbow, in Jesus' name. Now I hand over to the colleagues or whoever, the press, for questions of the same category. Thank you.
Listening to intersociety's report, which I would say is groundbreaking, and it is the first of its kind. Congratulations, intersociety. And to we who, anyway, my name is Chid Antonio Brame Fuet, and what he calls a blogger, but I'm an online publisher, is that all these things presented in the report, the pictorial evidences and all that, there is no doubt that these things are happening, and they are very serious happenings. But how come it is in Nigeria, it is only intersociety that is able to make these things available to us? Does it mean there are no other human rights organizations, or are they not seeing these things? Because sometimes I receive news releases from intersociety in which they collaborated with some other organizations, human rights organizations in the Southeast. And I see a lot of names there. And sometimes I call him and ask him, are you making up these names, or do they operate in the Southeast? If they do, how come it is always intersociety alone that is seeing these things? And sometimes also, when you look at Nigeria at large, sometimes you hear some human rights organizations going to give award to this same army chief who supervised these massacres. And so I keep asking myself, this thing, is it really happening? So what I'm saying is this. Even when I was in secondary school, I used to hear CLU and all the rest of them, but these days I don't hear of them any longer. But sometimes I come to occasions like this, I see CLU. My friend Carlo Chebu is in Port Harcourt, is always in the government house. You understand? So what kind of, what is all that? You understand? Supposing intersociety goes down tomorrow, God forbid, doesn't mean that we won't talk about these things any longer. So CLO, your democratic whatever and all the rest of them, all the district, please get up. There are human rights abuses in Nigeria. I know it. If you go to Port Harcourt, I went to Rimekurikom police station. I saw children, 3 children of the same parents, underage, arrested. The reason for that arrest was their father was to be arrested and their mother was not at home. The man said, he is the one taking care of these kids before my wife come back from the market. The police will say, okay, we can't leave you. He said, we arrest their children too. They did that. Today, we in the society will be shouting themselves hoarse. And every time we only hear one voice. Does it mean that if that is only organization we have, fine. But if we still have other organizations, then why is it only intersociety? When we hear of all these organizations, when they want to give award to some top government officials, if Obiano comes up, periodically they will give award. They give award to Roger. They do that. If anybody can give anybody award, I don't care about that. But we are a human rights organization. Human rights activism is not something you do to curry favor. If you are not ready to do it, leave it. Nobody forced you to do it. But if you want to call yourself a human rights activist, for Christ's sake, if there are human rights abuses, widespread, you have to highlight it. That is my advice. Thank you.
First of all, I will thank the organization, chairman, for his big effort. It's not an easy task to rally around this report. Indeed, he's doing a great job in this country in particular. But my question is, based on the scheme of compensation of $5 billion US, peradventure, under the leadership of our president, willing to give out this money for the scheme for the victims, how will it go? Or how will it work to get all these people under the scheme so that their own money will reach them? That's my question.
Formula where we've not seen the money.
The thing is that I think it's a very good question. Yeah. And things we say, we do not say them outside the law, out of context. If you look at the fundamental human rights of the Constitution, before I come to sharing formula, if you look at the fundamental human rights provision in the Constitution, the Federal Republic of Nigeria say they are justiciable and they are living rights. That is to say that such rights on violation are compensatable. And there are 2 ways of compensation in the event of violation of any of these fundamental rights, in accordance with Section 46 of the Constitution. It's either you go to court, or federal government can be compelled, or federal government can willingly compensate. If you look at what happened recently, where the Chief of Army Staff is saying that he's setting up an investigative panel and all that, The truth of the matter is that the Nigerian Army is beginning to be jittery and they take account of its atrocities. That is to say that when we get to the bridge, we know how to cross it. The issue of sharing formula in compensation is not the problem. Those victims that died, for instance, they were clearly itemized. For instance, in the context of victims of custodial killings like police has, you look at how we carefully, stated how those things can be done. It is a kind of $500 billion scheme. And in fact, the reason why that money is not even enough to bring back those souls that were killed. But we want to make federal government to be so painful so that by the time they liquidate their coffers and remove $5 billion to compensate the victims or stepmothers. Next time they won't kill again. Then I come into issue of method of payment, like that of custodial killing. We say the 500 million that is gonna be a scheme set up by, supervised by Federal Ministry of Police Affairs. If a citizen who is a victim or member of a victim citizen reliably or credibly establish his claim, then it is entitled to compensation. The other one, the Christians that were murdered, the Catholic Church has number of its people killed, the Ekewa Church, and so on and so forth. So, those churches represent what we call group victims. Group victims. They can be consulted when that one is ready. Then another one is that compensation can be done locally or internationally. You can sue here and get compensation. Federal government can also decide to compensate, having remorsefully realized his atrocities and things like that. So we know it, but let it be there. Then when the time comes, it will be zeroed down and we look at it. Mathematics is not going to be a problem. Thank you.
Students of business education have an equal. I think the very first time I was able to meet online with Sir Emeka was the day he wrote about the extrajudicial killing on Biafrans. I saw the courage with which he wrote whatever thing he passed there. Then I decided, even though I belong to a human rights organization, I must do everything within my power to join this, because it's a very noble one. We know the president of Nigeria, in as much as it is said to be a democratic setting, ours can never be recorded anywhere in the whole wide world. Now, for him to have taken up that courage, to kind of trying to look into the eyes of a lion and attack him, I think I salute your courage, sir. And again, what I am pleading now, he called me anyway because we have been sharing text message. During Sundays like this, I will just write a text and send to him because I've been trying to get him. Maybe, sir, sign my involvement in this particular organization because I want to belong. Now he told me something of this nature is going to come. I knew from the way he writes, it was going to be special, but how special it would be, I never knew until I came here. Now, coming here,